Lance Barber comments on the confirmation that George Cooper will indeed die in Young Sheldon Season 7. Sheldon's dad has always been expected to die before the events of The Big Bang Theory, while young Sheldon has deviated from established canon in the past. His demise is something that cannot be skipped over due to its significance to Sheldon's arc, even though it will make sending off the Coopers trickier to accomplish. Speaking at the TCAs, where Screen Rant was in attendance, Barber responded to the news that his character George will meet his end before Young Sheldon Season 7 wraps up in May. Read his comment below. Lance Barber previously played Leonard's bully, Jimmy, in The Big Bang Theory before landing the role of George in Young Sheldon. How George's death will impact the remainder of Young Sheldon Season 7 and beyond. George's loss will change the course of the Coopers' lives. Despite not making a physical appearance on The Big Bang Theory, Sheldon's penchant for sharing stories about his childhood and Mary's regular visits to Pasadena established a clear image of how George was as a father. Unfortunately, it is contradictory to how it's depicted in Young Sheldon. Instead of the no-good father, the Cooper patriarch is a flawed but devoted family man, which makes writing George off in the prequel so much more difficult. The fact that the show needs to do it in under 14 episodes doesn't help either. If George dies way too late, it risks ending Young Sheldon on a dark note, and if it happens way too early, it can bog down the remainder of the year. Ultimately, however, the announcement of Georgie and Mandy's Young Sheldon spinoff makes it difficult to gloss over George's death because it impacts the future of his family. Per the Big Bang Theory canon, each member of the family will handle his death differently, and it will set the path to their eventual futures. Georgie will take over running the household, and since Sheldon is oblivious to this, it will create a rift between the brothers. Mary will be too grief-stricken to function and will likely be motivated to rejoin the church. Finally, Missy will continue her rebellious act, leading to her not reaching her full potential. This part of the Cooper family history hasn't really been tackled yet, with The Big Bang Theory only mentioning most of them in passing. However, George and Mandy's upcoming Young Sheldon show can fully explore this particular time for the family, especially with regard to the remaining members in Texas. The biggest question now is how Young Sheldon will end on a good note after experiencing its biggest loss. How and when George dies in Young Sheldon Season 7? Specifics about George's demise are still unknown. Surprisingly, aside from being dead, The Big Bang Theory didn't reveal anything more about George's death. Young Sheldon, on the other hand, has been ignoring the coming tragedy for years, preserving the idea of a complete Cooper family for those who aren't aware of the revelations in the nerd-centric sitcom. That being said, there are clues as to how exactly he will pass away. A couple of times now, George has suffered some minor heart attacks. Considering how unexpected his demise is supposed to be, it's likely that will be the reason for his death. As for when exactly he passes away, there's confusion about this, with Sheldon claiming in The Big Bang Theory that he lost his dad when he was 14 and 15 separately. That shouldn't be the issue now, since George is already confirmed to die in Young Sheldon Season 7. Instead, what's more crucial is when the tragedy goes down in the upcoming year. Timing is significant for this. If George dies way too late, it risks ending Young Sheldon on a dark note. And if it happens way too early, it can bog down the remainder of the year. Ideally, the incident should happen in the middle of Young Sheldon's final run. This way, the show can spend as much time as it can with Barber, while giving it enough time on the heels of his character's death to recover. After that, it would be on the shoulders of Georgie and Mandy's new show to decide what kind of legacy George will have. It can either reaffirm Sheldon and Mary's stories in The Big Bang Theory or stick to what Young Sheldon established.